Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another installment of our visiting lecture series here at the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies at the University of Macau. Great to see you all. Today we are visited in the flesh by Professor Chunpeng Hao, who is an associate professor of philosophy at Shanghai Normal University, holding degrees from other institutions in China, such as Hainan University, Fudan University, has written a number of books and articles in philosophy, such as A Companion to Utopia, published in 2022, and Understanding and Construction, Raymond Aron's Philosophy of History in 2021. More recently, he has published an article by the title Diverse Fates in Homer, published in the Journal of Philosophy and Literature in 2024, which, as you may know, brings us to the title of today's presentation. Before I hand things over to Professor Hao, I will invite you all cordially to join us afterwards downstairs for reception in the Port Club, where we will have food and beverages. I hope you're hungry, or will be, by the end of the presentation and Q&A. With that then, if you would be so kind as to join me in graciously welcoming our guest, I will hand things over.
First, thank you, Professor Baker. It's a great honor to give me the talk. Actually, it's a talk because my English is so poor, so I'm prepared in advance. And if there is something confuse you, you can push in Chinese. It's okay. Okay. I prepared the PowerPoint here, and let's begin. This article, the title of the article is The Diverse Fates in Homer. Actually, the article is recently published in the October 2024 in the Philosophy and the Literature. I have already provided the article to you. Have you seen it? But it's not very long. It's a little short. And I might share some more contents here. Okay. This content has also been published in several journals on mainland in Chinese. They are all about discussion about the faith and the God's will and law, human laws and the fate of the religion. So I should also mention my poor English. It's not very good. So if you it would be better to ask the question in Chinese because I can repair in Chinese too. Okay, after the talk. Okay. Okay. All right. Here, let's get started. First, I would like to share the titles of this article. The titles. The title. Can you see that? The title of the published article is Diverse Fates in Homer. Faith is in plural form, yeah. But the original version, Dimitra and I work together. We think the better is the fate, the singular form. Dimitra and I both think that the singular form should be better. But the editor is the boss, so we have to reflect these suggestions. It's true that diverse means more than one. So diverse fate quite makes sense. That doesn't quite make sense, but that's exactly the point. I should depend here why fate is more better than the faith. Here is an example. The relationship like the form of the good and the other virtues, like the genus and the ethos. The relationship like fate and faith. If you have read the Plato's Republic, it has mentioned that the good is the high category of genus, and the others such like the justice, wisdom, and the courage, and so on. They are the diverse. But the relationship, I want to say, the form of the good is the highest and the most fundamental concept. Just as fruit is a general category. justice, wisdom, courage, and temperance are specific virtues that draws from and reflect the good, just as apple and bananas to the fruit. So each virtue has its own unique characteristic, but is connected to and informed by the overarching concept of the good. So those diverse faiths could be unified. Even the highest, the ruler, the Zeus, they follow the arrangement of faith. So here we continue to the relation between faith and the goose. But first, I will say something about the faith. What's the meaning? The faith. The faith. The Greek word for faith is moira. It literally means allotted share and related to destiny and doom. And the part lot and to receive one's share or to partake, stuff like that. For us human, faith as a share refers to our lives. Yes? But to God is not, because we know God never died. God was born but never died. So faith is like limited for us. Maybe our life is just 100 years, and that's so. Maybe it's long, but it's still limited. So share refers to for the gods. Share not refer to their life, but refer to their power. This is power because I take like there to share something. So we share what the gods get the power. God have the power, so they share the stuff like Zeus get the sky and the Hades get the underground and Poseidon observes the sea like that. This is shown. This is shown in the area that goddess or God controls. Here, here is about the goddess of the faith, the mother, but they have two mothers. Actually, Hesiod refers to two different originals of the goddess of the faith in his theogony. He described them as the daughter of Nyx. Nyx, that means night. In theogony 17 to 219, but also as the daughter of the Themis. I remember it's not the Thetis. I will mention Thetis is the mother of the Achilles, but the Themis is another. It does look like the change word. Themis, that's Zeus' second wife. You can see in the theogony 904 to 906. This apparently contradiction reflects a shift into a new year in which Zeus has the power to change his own fate. Because Nyx is a first generation goddess, and with Kronos oversaw the role of Uranus, I think Uranus and Kronos. Kronos overthrew the role of the Uranus, but he did not change the way of the role. He is the part, the most I think the most higher and the greatest ruler. But Zeus is not like that. Zeus, on the other hand, overthrew Kronos and redistribute the power of sports. As Hesiod writes, Zeus, whose thunder is haired far and wide, ruled over the new gods and divided the title and the power justified. That's the point. Zeus is directly related to fate. For in his dynasty, it seems that his will or his command to other gods and humans were as unavailable as fate. Zeus' rule was characterized by three feathers: power, wisdom, and justice. It is not only the power. Kronos and Kronos is ruled by power, only by power. But Zeus is not that. The birth of the new goddess of the faith, I mean the Thetis. Thetis' daughter is another three goddess of faith. The birth of the new goddess of faith showed that Zeus set up a new order for Olympus. In the theogony, we read that both Kronos and Zeus took power by force, unlike Kronos, who ruled naturally. Kronos is the sky. He ruled is naturally. When he's born, he's a king. He also is a king. This is why they often lived in fear and uncertainty. That means that's the Kronos, the Titan. I mean, the Titan. What's the meaning? That means that they fear because they overthrew their father, and they worried they will be overthrown again by their son or their daughter. A wise ruler will try to change this situation. Zeus is the wise man. No, not wise man, wise god. If Kronos and the first tyrant, but I have to mention that the tyrant is not the modern meanings of tyrant. It just means only go to get the power. That's the tyrant. Okay. If Kronos as the first tyrant had little experience, Zeus had definitely learned from his father's mistake because he's overthrown by Zeus. He knew the power he had gained was not right, and he knew the prophecy that he could be overthrown by his children. Actually, there are a lot of the prophecy talk about Zeus will be overthrown by his son, such like Metis and Thetis. I will mention later. So he not only tricked the clever Metis, Metis shown he was smarter than Metis. He swallowed Metis. That's why the Athena was born from his head. And swallowed her to stop the prophesy from coming true. But also set up a new order followed by the gods. This order was no longer based on strength, but on justice, and finally won the respect of the other gods. As a king, Zeus doesn't have absolute power like Uranus or Kronos. Yeah, gods it's not only Zeus to overthrow Kronos. He with other gods and even this Titan and Saint Manos. Saint Manos that's the 100 armed giants. They with them they win this the fight. Yeah. Other gods can overthrow him if they join. I mean, our gods can overthrow Zeus if they join for us. They joined and they can overthrow Zeus too. But why they don't do that? They didn't do that. They obey Zeus because he stands for justice. Under the rule of the righteous fate, every good gets his titles and power in a just way. That's in Theogony 885. Once the sharing of fate is done, all the gods obey. Any god who goes beyond his authority gets punished. Setting up a new order needs a new goddess of fate. Also, power is still behind fate as a guarantee. Yeah, if you don't have power, you can't build your kingdom. Yeah, you must have it, but it must be behind the fate as a guarantee. In Zeus dynasty, power alone is not enough for Zeus to keep absolute rule. According to the prophecy of Uranus and Gaia, a son of Metis. I mean, why Zeus eats Metis, swallow it Metis? Because Uranus and Gaia had prophecy about Zeus that a son of Metis who represents justice and wisdom is overthrow Zeus. By his means, Zeus changed this ancient faith and become the symbol of the wisdom and justice. So under the order of the new goddess of fate, I mean, the old faith and the new faith. New faith. Those held on tightly to his position as the king of men and the God's throne for human age. I don't know, actually, human have gone 5 ages: the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, hero age, and the iron age. It's a very interesting question. Is that a problem? And maybe the golden age is rule of Chronos, and Zeus is ruled the silver age and the other 4 ages. Okay, forget. So we'll continue about. In Homer's epics, there are few descriptions of the face of the gods. A lot of about Zeus, about heroes, but not too much about the other gods. However, some story in his in theogony can serve as reference, such like Atlas hold up the sky on his head and arms Atlas. This is fate. This is the fate. That's the fate decreed for him by Zeus. Hercules freed the Prometheus, and he freed him from his miserable situation, doing all this in obedience to the will of Zeus. Still Zeus' will. Zeus overthrew his father Cronos by force and ascended to the throne, just as Cronos had done by overthrowing his father Kronos. The whole history of the change in the gods' regime is driven by violence. They overthrow the previous ruler through violence to maintain rule with their own power and strength. At the same time, they worried about being overthrown by a new power. Yeah. For this reason, Zeus always guarded against the threatening new force mentioned in the prophecy, just to maintain his supreme rule in the sky and on the earth. In order to maintain his rule, Zeus changed the way that Kronos detected only through power. Here. It's still in the theogony. He said that those deprived of the right and honors by Kronos who could now lay just the claim to them. He fulfilled with exactness the promise made to all, and yet he is sovereign Lord, and his power is unchallenged. In his dynasty, those ruled with faith and represent justice. In other words, it was established of new orders represented by justice, with which Zeus changed his fate by using his wisdom. Another with his wisdom, Zeus swallowed Metis. That's why. Who stood for strategy to avoid the prophecy that his rule would be overthrown. By doing this, he reinforced his rule. Following that, Zeus continued to rule with justice. In Iliad, Zeus knew that his son Sarpedon is one son of Zeus. Zeus has a lot of sons. This is one. He would die in battle in the Troy. He wanted to change Sarpedon's fate by his power, but did not. He did not, because Hera said as follows. Hera says, "For Galaxy, son of the Kronos, what sort of things have you spoken? You wish to bring back a man who is mortal. Man's fate is mortal. Yeah? You want to bring back a man never to die? One long since doomed by his destiny." That's the face, another translation. "From ill-sounding death and release him. Do it, then, but not all the rest of the gods shall approve you." So if it's truth to that, what will happen? Yeah. And put away in your thoughts these other things I tell you. If you bring Sarpedon back to his home, still living, think how then some other one of the gods might also wish to carry his own son out of the strong encounter. Yeah, every god has son in every year, and they can save themselves. Since around the great city of Priam, that's the king of the Troy, Priam, are fighting many sons of the immortals. You will awaken great resentment among them. That's her said. And this shows that Zeus is fully able to change the Sarpedon's fate. Yeah, he can save. He can do it as long as he wants. But Hera reminded him that he must think about the results. The Olympus gods have always followed the arrangement of fate. Once Zeus, as the topist, the ruler, changes the fate according to his own will, the authority will be destroyed. And the destruction of the order like this will cause other gods to follow. They would save their children as they wish, and Olympus would return to conflict and chaos. Again, gods are not completely unable to change fate. The reason why they did not do so is that they are waiting. They are waiting to will. They are waiting to follow it, because faith stands for a constant and a stable justice, which is the highest order and the principle in the Zeus dynasty. Therefore, Zeus finally went against his own will and chose to respect the fates. And another example. And when Hector was attacked by Achilles outside of Troy, Zeus paid pity for him. He wants to again. Athena refuted immediately. Father of the shining god, dark mission. What is this your side? Do you wish to bring back a man who is immortal? Same. Actually, Homer used a lot of sentences, the same sentence. One long since doomed by his destiny. Yeah, that's the fate. From ill-sounding death and release him. Do it, then, but not all the rest of us gods shall approve you. After that, Zeus took out the golden scale that stands for justice. The golden, see, this one, yeah. He took out the golden scale and that stands for justice. He put Achilles and Hector on each side of and lifted it in the middle. And Achilles and Hector. Hector went down on one side and slipped toward Hades. So any gods gave up for him. That's justice. From the two examples, we can see that the fate of the gods, that's the share, is not fixed. It's wisdom and power that decide fate. But just like different gods have different power, like beauty, their influence on their own fate is also different. Among the gods, Zeus is the strongest and has the greatest power. If he wants to, he can not only decide and change the fate of humans, but even change his own fate. He changed fate. That's like the old fate goddess and the new fate goddess. He changed it. If he want to, he can not only decide and change the fate of humans, but even change his own fate. For other gods, they should follow fate. Obey the God's will. If they want to change it, they can. But they have to ask the powerful Zeus for help. That like Thetis asked Zeus to help Achilles. Thetis begged the Zeus and touch his beard. Humans can also pray to Zeus and other gods to make their wishes come true. Humans can do that too. It's very true that when Zeus say yes, is here. What here is we follow. That means act. Okay, I have promise. It's a promise. However, in order to keep peace and order, power should be hidden. Power should be hidden, and faith, which stands for justice, should be respected by all humans and gods. Therefore, those as the third kings of the Olympus rose to power, but the rules by justice and order. That's the justice and other gods. Next is hero. Those other gods, heroes, and the last is ordinary people. Heroes, what's the hero? Heroes are born from both gods and humans. So that's why we have a hero age, because his father or mother is God, and another is ordinary people. That's a generation, only one generation. Heroes are born from both gods and human, which makes them different from the gods and different from men. Why? Also, they are controlled by fate like ordinary people. They will die. Hero is mortal too, but they are a little different from ordinary people. They can choose from fate because there is more than one for them. Not only have one fate. We may have one fate, but the heroes have more than one. Here is an example about the hero's fate. Is Achilles, between God and man hero Achilles. Achilles, the main character in Iliad, has two possible fates. He could either sail back to his hometown and live a quiet life, or he could stay on the battlefield, die in the battle, but gain the fame and be praised. There are two fates for him. Of course, these two fates wasn't perfectly clearly at the time. At the first time, Achilles haven't choose which the best, which the fate is the best. At first, there was a lot of uncertainty about each fate, and it was only as time went on that things became clear. In the end, Achilles made his choice and fulfilled his fate. There's some first. Achilles knew that he would be short-lived at the beginning of his dispute with Agamemnon. That's the main I think the Iliad, the main idea is about Achilles angry. Yeah. Angry what? Angry about he lose his honor by Agamemnon. Yeah. But the prediction was not clear. His mother Thetis is not Themis. Thetis mentioned since indeed your lifetime is to be short of no less. In here, short of no less, that means it was not an exact time. Yeah, you will live short, but when? Maybe tomorrow, maybe next year. It's not an exact time. Second, as Thetis request to Zeus, Achilles' wish come true. That's what I just mentioned. He touched the spirit to make his wish come true. Achilles' wish comes true. The Achaea, Greece, were strongly hit by the Trojans. For this reason, Agamemnon had to send Aias, Phoenix, and Odysseus to make peace with Achilles. And this time, Achilles mentioned his two faces here. For my mother, Thetis, the goddess of the silver feet. Yeah, that's they also like to use this adjective, and that like Hera is white up like that, and the Thetis is the silver feet. In mother till
Feet, right?
yeah feet
Feet.
yeah feet
We don't see the T. That's
yeah. Okay.
see.
Okay. Yeah. I lost you.
We lost one foot.
Yeah. Yeah. If not silver, it's without feet. Okay. Tell me, I carry the two thoughts of the destiny toward the day of my death. Either if I return home to the beloved land of my father, the excellence of my glory is gone. But there will be a long life left for me. And my end in death will not come to me quite quickly. Yeah, it's not short. After those fulfilled Thetis' request, Achilles came to know his two different destinies. At that moment, Achilles probably preferred the choice of returning home. Yeah. Want to live alone. So it's better to go home and never to back to the battlefield. And he was unwilling to reconcile with Agamemnon. So he replied to Phoenix, "That honor is the thing I need not. I don't want the honor. The life is the best. I think I'm honored already in those ordinance, which will hold me here beside my crude ship as long as life's one stay in my breast, as long as my knees have their spring beneath me." The expressions life's one stay in my breast and my knees have their spring beneath me implies that he wants to live. In other words, that was the fate he chose at the moment. I chose the long life, not the honor. But here, the third, the death of Patroclus. Patroclus is the best friend of Achilles. The death of Patroclus is the main reason why Achilles changed his choice. He changed his choice. Achilles had promised that he would only fight when the war reached his ships, because the Greece is a union. I read have this. It's every leader have their armies, and Achilles have his armies. And if he means he would not fight when the war reached his ship with his men. This actually direct shows that he was stick with his first choice because he had to defend himself when his life was threatened by the enemy. Then Nestor, another leader, Nestor tried to persuade, because he's good at to persuade someone. Yeah. Instead, tried to persuade Patroclus to wear Achilles' armor and weapon, yeah, and fight. When Patroclus met Achilles, he thought Achilles dare not fight out of fear for his fate to die. And Patroclus saw that. Thus, he wanted to fight for Achilles. Okay, I come out. Yeah. Achilles said angrily, "Yeah, I have not any prophecy in mind that I know of." It meant that he didn't know his fate would. There is no word from those my honored mother has told me. I have said that I would not give over my anger until that time came when the fighting with all its glamour came up to my own ships. That's mentioned. Here, Achilles insisted that he did not know Zeus' will, nor did he know that the battle would cost the death of Patroclus. So he agreed to his friend's request to go to war and give him the armor which he had received from his father, and told him must not impress and fury of fighting. However, Patroclus continued to attack the Troy after victory, leading to his death in battle. Achilles had a premonition about it and recollected a prophecy once told by his mother. May the gods not accomplish their sorrow upon the heart in me in the way my mother once made it clear to me, when she told me how, while I yet lived the bravest of all the Myrmidons is as his nature. Myrmidons must leave the light of the sun beneath the hand of Troyans. After Achilles found out his friend was dead, Thetis knew her son wouldn't come back home. This is because Achilles had become more had become more determined and made a brave choice. Choice. We could say that dying was no longer a big deal for him, and his anger and Agamemnon's unfairness had turned into a desire for revenge for Patroclus. In fact, the death of the Patroclus changed Achilles' early choice, or at least turned his hesitation into the determination to face death. Death was no longer important to Achilles. He said, I myself know well it is destined for me to die here. That's another fate. And the ordinary people. It can be seen that ordinary people are very different from heroes because they don't know what the fate is. They have no ability to choose their fate. And only the best of them, maybe the king, could consult the gods can know their own fate. However, knowing their fate does not mean they can change it. And knowing it doesn't mean changing. And sometimes it even brings them more pain. For example, such as Oedipus knew about his fate, but it's not a good thing. This brought the greatest tragedy in the world. In contrast, as demigods, the heroes can choose their own fate. Also, they still gradually recognize and accept it. Moreover, there is another major difference between human and heroes. Human can neither change nor sometimes accept their fate. While the fate of the hero is the result of their own choice, even though they need time to gradually recognize and accept it. Here is an example. After killing Patroclus, Hector is an ordinary people. Hector did not know his own fate, and he said Patroclus was killed by him. Of course, what is this prophecy of my headlong destruction? Who knows if even Achilles, son of the living haired, cheated? Not a detective about his might before this be struck by my spear, and his own life perish. In contrast, what Achilles said to Hector was when Achilles was killed by Achilles. Hector was killed by Achilles, and Achilles said, "Die, die, and I will take my own death, and whatever time Zeus and the rest of the immortals choose to accomplish it." That's different. For mortals, fate. For mortals, fate was determined before they were born on Earth. The responsible goddesses are three: Achilles, Clotos, Atropos. Plato described this in Republic. They sing to the science harmony. Science harmony is beautiful harmony. Lachesis of what has been, Cloto of what is, and Atropos of what is going to be. That's the human's fate. Ordinary people have no way to know their fate without asking for the divine prophecy. The fate of leader or kings of mortals are also determined, but they have certain ways to know their fate because they are favored by gods. However, knowing, as I was said, knowing fate does not mean fortune, because knowing is not changing. Sometimes knowing fate is giving the relation of the fate leading to a greatest disaster. So here is the conclusion. In Homer's world, God's fate isn't set in stone. It's not fixed. Their wisdom and powers can change it. They can change it, but they don't want to change it. That's because that's it. Just like different gods have different powers, they also have different influence on fate. Those who has the most power can freely decide and change not only the fate of humans, but even his own fate. If he wants, if he wants. For other gods, some fates must be followed and can only be changed if they ask Zeus for help. Therefore, if we sort them based on their influence on fate, the degree of influence decrease is in sequence of Zeus, gods, heroes, and ordinary peoples. The four levels, yeah. The four levels are related to the power of the mortal and immortal. Generally speaking, Zeus will directly affect the fate, no matter whether it is the fate of gods, heroes, or human beings. Second, also other gods are weaker than Zeus. They can influence the fate of mortals to some extent. For example, they might use thick fog to protect the mortals they favor, or use wars to encourage their fighting spirit. But they can't ignore the fate or do whatever they want. Third, for heroes, they can choose one out of two kind of fate, but they can't escape the death. That's the hero's limit. The last, for ordinary people, they have been doomed an irreversible fate before they were born. Because they were born, everything is decided. Even the few greatest humans, like the king, who can learn their fate through prophecy, can only follow it without making any change. As for the most ordinary people, they don't even have a chance to know their fate until they die. I don't know what my fate is. So the last thing, what should we do? Yeah, we are ordinary people. What can we do? Is there anything a mortal human can do about fate? Ordinary people live without the power of the gods, the ability to change the fate, or the dual fates like heroes. Does this mean the ordinary people have to be submissive to their invisible fate? I'm not a pessimist. In the end, I want to try to make a positive effort to offer a way of living the problem of unchangeable fate. Everyone see, everyone know this film? Yeah, Neda, yeah. It's pretty good and it's so popular.
Oh, it's
Neda 2. There are two.
What's the name?
Neda.
Neda.
Yeah. Yeah. I say. Personally, I like the first. I don't like. I prefer the first. The second is more popular, but I think the first is the best. Regarding fate, I think this movie is a very suitable example for discussion. Yeah, but since the story has a lot of the Chinese culture background, and I'll lecture it in English, for my poor English, I'm worried that I might not be able to press some rather special content well. So here I only kept this screenshot and only use it to illustrate one point. The master of fate is not in the hand of ordinary people. Yeah, also Neda said, I'm the master of my fate. Yeah. But after that, what happened? Have you seen the film? You may know.
In the movie?
Yeah. After he said that 4 more arms grow on his back, that means he's not ordinary people. Even he has another 2 heads. That means 三头六臂, has 3 heads and 6 arms. So he is the master of his fate, but because he's not ordinary people. And in ancient Greek mythology, there are also stories about the Santolobi-san, 100 arms giants. With that, they helped Zeus to conquer the Kronos. Right? And it's cool. Then made by AI. Okay. In ancient Greek mythology, there are all stories about the how to pronunciation. Hecatocaris. Hecatocaris. Yeah. Yeah, that means the centimanus. Yeah, the 100-armed giant. Who gave those defeat the Titan? There are all manifestation of the great power because they are powerful. Therefore, having great power is an indispensable, necessary condition for having the degree. Making power over fate reverse, there is not something we ordinary people can do. So it's not what I really want to say. I will reuse the Hector's example. He was the protector of the Troy and also a mortal, ordinary people. Even though he knew he would not survive, he still chose to go to war actively. He knew he will die, but he still chose to go to war. And he made the same decision as the demigod Achilles. Here is Achilles. I must die soon. Then, since I was not to stand by my company when he was killed, I will accept my own death, and whatever time Zeus wish to bring it about, and the other immortals. So I likewise, if such is the fate which has been wrought for me, shall lie still when I am dead. Now I must await excellent glory. Yes, I will die, but I can win the excellent glory. And then here is Hector. Hector said, so it must long since have been pleasing to Zeus and those sons who strict from afar this way. So before this, they defended my gladiator, but now my death is upon me. Death is upon me because I want to die. That's why he's upon me. Let me at least not die without a struggle, inglorious, but do some big things first, that men to come shall know of it. Yes, for us mortals who are fated to die, the only thing we can do is choose how to die. That's the important thing. Because the fate, we can't decide it, but we can decide how to end it. Socrates is the best example of this. Yeah, Socrates. He said Achilles was his role model. Do you know this in Apologies? He said Achilles was his role model. Achilles was Hector's model too. His death was not a bad thing. Rather, Socrates chose to die in a way that would bring him lasting fame. Okay. This idea is similar to the concept of gaining immortality through one's reputation, which can outlive a person's physical existence. Today, we still know about Achilles and Hector. We are talking about them right now. Just now, we are still talking about. We are not from ancient Greece. Yeah, you're from Greece, but you're not from ancient Greece. Yeah. But their story have lived on, showing that a person's glory can last longer than his or her life. That's all. Thank you.
I'll happily form a queue as I tend to do. If anybody wants to start us off with a question or a comment, they should feel free to jump in, raise a hand. Victoria, could you start us? Yeah, make sure that's on, of course, as you know.
Yes, there was so much in that, but I just want to pick out one thing that came up for me right at the end. You said Socrates, who was an ordinary person, could choose how he died. So then the question is, does that mean that fate is about the time of death?
Oh, yeah.
And the manner of death is open. It's just the time that's fixed. Is that correct?
Yeah. I know the point. Because the fate for human is about death, but the limit is about the date when you die. Yeah. It's about that. So Socrates chose because he's so old, and he know when he die, he should die for something. That's why he chose to maybe just like suicide to himself. He make all the audience angry with him, but he wanted.
So how means like, not when, it doesn't mean when, right? How means the way.
Yeah.
The way you die, right?
Yeah.
You can
Exactly.
choose the way you die.
Yes.
So because he was dying anyway. I mean, he was already right, very old, right? So the when was somehow fixed for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he chose how he would approach that limit. Whether it would be hiding in different cities or whether it would be drinking, like accepting the
Yeah.
sentence and drinking
Yeah,
the poison,
yes,
right?
Actually, I speak in Chinese. It's a little different.
Yeah.
In Federal, Socrates had mentioned Anaxagoras. He said the news. What's the meaning of the news?
Anaxagoras,
Yeah,
yes.
he's not satisfied about the extent about news. Because he said, why you sit here? He said, because you sit for the leg and the chair make you sit here. But Socrates said, no, that's not the real reason. The real reason is I make a mistake. Socrates make a mistake. Actually, it's not a mistake. I 犯罪. I'm criminal. I'm a criminal.
Yes.
So I sit here. So that's the point.
I broke the law.
The limit of the fate is just like the physical. But the important thing is not the physical. It's about how to die. And die for what? Because everybody will die, ordinary people, even the hero will die. But you can change it. Because we don't want that because we want to live longer. And what is the longer? The honor is longer than the ordinary people's life. So that's the real choice. 有没有解释清楚？能帮我翻译一下？如果没有解释清楚，我可以再说。
Anybody else want to jump in?
So this theory about heroes having two different choices of fate,
Yes.
does this only apply to the Homeric stories, or could we expand this to other heroes? Greek mythology?
Yeah, actually, I think most in the Homers because it's not only Achilles. Aeneas, do you know Aeneas?
Aeneas,
Yeah, he has two fates. We can see the video. He mentioned he have two fates. The first he not tragedy is die in Troy, and he not die. He became the first of the Roma. He's the agent the Roma. Just another fate. Because he's hero. His mother is Aphrodite. Aphrodite. Yeah.
So, to go back to Socrates, right? Like,
Yeah.
because the point is that the heroes are different from ordinary people in that they can choose, right? There is a moment when they can choose.
Yeah.
But wasn't there such a moment also for Socrates, who's an ordinary person? Somehow that's, I mean, because you mentioned, right, Socrates' model was Achilles, right?
Yes.
A semi-god. So somehow Socrates thought that ordinary people also have this moment where they can, I mean, he was given the chance, right? Kriton went to his cell and said, come on, I have everything set up. Like, we can get out of here.
Yeah.
And he said, no.
No, yeah.
Right? So,
no, that's what I mean. That's like Hector.
Do they have the ordinary humans somehow they have like a potential for heroism? I don't know.
Yeah, let me say that Socrates is powerful, but it's not powered by the strength, it's powered by his mind. Yeah? So he's just like a hero. Yeah? He even better than other hero. Literally, hero is just mother is God or father is God. It's just a fact. But to be a hero is not what he's just born. It's about his.
You have to realize that the hero is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, that's the activity. All the people could be a hero because they all will die. They in the same fate is they all will be die. But what's the choice? Decided what is what you are. Yeah.
I could ask a question if there's nobody else who has yet to ask. Okay, I'll try something. So, I guess in this hierarchy of beings that goes from the ordinary person to the hero to the it's fair to say the lesser gods and then
other
Zeus,
gods and
other gods,
Yeah,
less
yeah,
loaded, I suppose. Sure,
Yeah.
into the other gods and then to Zeus. We see simultaneously a kind of an ascension or an increase in their power with respect to fate, right? If that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And an increase in knowledge, I guess, as well, which is part of what that power consists of, how much knowledge you have, possible fates available to you, and so on, and of the choices you can make with respect to fate. And I guess a simplistic perspective about that would be that this increase through the hierarchy of knowledge and power with respect to fate is a good thing. It's part of what characterizes the superiority of each being in the hierarchy. But I guess there are parts of some of the examples you've shared and the descriptions that these different figures give of their fate and the choices they have to make, where it can also seem like the choice itself is kind of is fraught somehow. It's not necessarily or at least not entirely a good thing to have to make the choice. So I guess I don't know if it's a particularly interesting question or not, but I guess I just wonder, are we supposed to take away from these Homeric epics that power over one's fate is just, it's a good thing. That's it. And the more of that we have, the better off we are, or the higher we exist in this hierarchy of beings? Or is there some sense in which maybe it's always a kind of mixture of this is a good thing, but it's not simultaneously?
So it's just one season.
Sorry?
It's just one character,
Right.
like that power. Justice is for those justice the more important things.
Right.
Because the powerful is such like Uranus and Kronos, they all powerful.
Yeah.
But those power a little weaker, but the most important thing is his wisdom and the justice.
Right.
That make it maybe look like more powerful.
Mixes into more possible.
But is that better? This is what Ben said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that better? He's
Yeah.
more powerful, but is he also
Yes.
in a better position?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't lose power. Without power, there's nothing. It's just like the law. For the law, if not is without the punishment, so the law is nothing.
So it is good for Zeus that he has this power.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it in,
But it's
Is
not
there
the
any
only
respect?
thing. It's not the only thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The only power for just the four Kronos or Rebel is just for them.
Yeah, it's just that, to go back to Ben's question, Ben's asking like this order that you have put, right? Like the gods at the top,
Yes.
sorry, Zeus at the
Zeus,
top,
yeah.
gods, right? Heroes,
Yes.
ordinary people.
Yeah.
Does this also mean that the lower you go, the worse your situation is? Like if you're a human,
Yeah.
things are worse for you.
Yes.
And if you
Yes,
are
I
moving
also-
higher,
yeah.
there is
Yes.
this kind of,
Yes.
判断
Yes.
在里面嘛。
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. But another, at the end of my talk is about maybe ordinary people could be a hero. That
could be a little
means
bit better,
you
okay.
can up.
And I guess
But we
that
can
would be
cross the line. Which line? The line is the death.
Yeah.
The God never dies.
Yeah.
But it's another. I'm not sure whether it's the ancient Greece that if people don't believe in God, God will die.
Yeah.
Is that the
No,
tradition
I
of the
think
ancient?
that-
I think no,
Yes,
no,
no, I
maybe
think
it's
the
another. Yeah.
understanding is that, like also the Homeric and traditional, that the gods are blessed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're blessed because they don't.
Yeah.
If we don't bless
Yeah,
them.
so maybe I would just put my question this way. I'm an ordinary human as far as you all know.
Well,
We're all.
And perhaps I could confront something could happen in my life that might give me the opportunity to ascend from an ordinary human to a hero. And if I were to become a hero, I would then have more power with respect to my fate. I would now be able to choose between two fates.
An epic doom or a lame.
Sure. And then the question is putting myself in the position to have that choice good for me? Or is there any argument for my saying to myself, I'll just remain ordinary. I don't want what comes with that choice. I don't think that's good for me. I guess that's my question.
yeah, this Homer take, like when Achilles says,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
rather live my life. At
Yeah,
first,
yes.
he says, right? I would
Mm.
rather live my life,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And then he changes his mind because of
So part of
his
the process.
revenge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sorry. So when he says, I would rather live my life, what is the understanding that that is a legitimate choice, right? That's okay. It's a
Yeah,
good choice.
That's a good.
Or does it
Actually, it's a
become
good
better?
choice. If Pentecost was not that, it's a good choice maybe.
It would be.
Here's another example I remember in Republic in the book 10. Odysseus, when Odysseus dead, what his choice, his life, his fate, he tries to be unlike ordinary people, quiet, and then no one know him. In the book 10, Odysseus.
Yes, yes.
Odysseus is the best choice.
Yes, this
Yes,
is,
that's another thing you can see.
yeah.
So, in my opinion, actually, for ordinary people, for us ordinary people, fate is not a very important thing. Just like everybody will be die, so who cares? What you care is about other things more important than death. That's the point. So Socrates, Hector is death, Achilles is death. That's all.
So Achilles' choice to stay, to live out his years, it was good until Patroclus,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So it's also somehow contingent. Yeah.
Yes. And actually, it's not, maybe it's not the best choice because in another Homer's work, also in Odyssey,
The Odyssey.
Odyssey go to the
underworld.
Hades and ask Achilles. Achilles was crying and I never want to be a king in here. I'm just a slave.
Yeah.
Is there any new voice that would like to enter the conversation? If not, I can begin bringing back around to those who have already had a chance. I see no new hands right now. I did see you also raise a hand, Victoria, if you want to ask another.
The idea that came up in connection with the sirens, that fate is determined by what has been, what is, and what is going to be.
Here.
Yeah, so this, it seemed to me a mythic expression of a very familiar philosophical idea. You find this in early Buddhism, for example. The present is, it comes out, it emerges from the past, it arises from the past, and the future arises from the present. So is this really a mythological expression of something that can be formalized into a very far-reaching philosophical theory?
I'm not sure I get the point.
Yeah, it seems like this description,
Yeah.
right? That Lachesis
Yeah.
decides for what, for the past, right?
Yes.
Clothon
Past,
for
now,
the
and the
present,
future.
and Atropos for the future, right?
Mhm.
So what is the connection? Can we relate this idea
Yeah.
of the connection between past, present, and
Yes,
future
yeah.
with, for example, the Buddhist idea of dependent origination, right? Like of things like one thing depends on the previous thing,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
A produces B and B will
Yeah,
produce.
yes.
Can we, is this the relationship here
Yeah.
between those three?
Mhm.
Or are they somehow independent?
Actually, I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
It's just described. Maybe here is an example. Do you understand Saint Augustine? Saint Augustine.
St. Augustine,
He,
yeah.
he talked about the time. What the time is. Every time is about now. You know? You know this? Yeah.
Yeah.
The past is now. It's the now I realize the past, and the future is not come here. It's just that I realize the future. So that's all those things come together, unique to the now. It's what's now. That's like that. But I'm not sure because I have asked you. 曾经问过你这个问题。It's because here is a question. It's about when people born, everything is decided. The three goddesses have done everything. Is that or when he was born and is that about happening and he lived is about what is and when he died is about going to be of course. That's the two things. I'm not sure which is the best. Maybe I prefer the first one. Because for people, everything is fixed.
Everything is decided
Yes, decided. It's
in
just
one moment, in one now somehow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just Augustine's time. Everything is clear.
It's not really a now. If we look at the image here,
Yes.
it's a very clear and unbroken continuity.
Okay, cut it. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say that this is maybe a limitation of the imagery, right? If we take the metaphor exactly as it is, then there's a definite end and some determinate point in the future. I don't know if we can agree with St. Augustine here because he's trying to square a different issue, which is divine foreknowledge and free will, which I take to be different than fate. If we try to transpose that again onto the Greeks here, we can say that your free will is your ability to choose otherwise, choose a different fate.
Yeah.
But that seems like it's something that is not an option for the ordinary person, unless perhaps they are called by glory to a quicker doom, but a more glorious death. But that seems predetermined there. But we're having issues with this metaphor.
And here I can give another explanation about this. We have go back to the Republic. When Plato referred to it, is that the fate has been choiced. Because the story is about you choose your fate. All the fate is here, just the truth. Truth after that, the three goddesses make it true. Yeah. So that means they just like a machine. Everything is decided is by you. You choose your fate, and they help you to realize it, just like that. It doesn't change anything. So everything is fixed here. It just it does look like a tree, a field of tree, and come to a big tree. Everything is fixed. Just in the time, in the history to realize it.
Whether like ordinary people also have free will.
Yeah.
It's kind of case. do we have the chance to choose our fate, or is fate is just like determinism? And the problem is whether it is compatible with free will or not.
Yes, it's a good question, but it's hard to give a determined answer because free will and determined doesn't say. Can speak Chinese 我觉得可以换一个思路，是这样，就是整个关于 fate 的问题，对 ordinary people 来说 not important， 它会让你转化到去关注其他问题上，比如说不是关注你什么时候死，而是关注你活的那个过程和死的那个瞬间整个过程。在这里的时候是有 free will， 它the fate 其实是一个 limit， 是一个点，是一个 point。It's just a point， 但是过去我们太把它当成一回事，就太重要了。但实际上它不重要，重要的是这个过程以及 how to end it 这个过程。所以其实对于 ordinary people 来说，我们反正也不知道 fate， 所以我们不用落在之前我们对于 fate 的那个狭隘的定义上，就是 one's death or one's life 这样。所以在这里才会出现出 free will 跟这里的分开了，就是它不需要说我的命被定好了，所以我就不会有 free will。你被定好的只是死的那个期限，甚至你连死的期限你都不知道，那么其实不是一个特别重要的事情。那么我们的人生也不是说因为我们每个人都要死，所以我们现在就死，或者这都不重要。就是死亡其实对我们来说，虽然实际上我们的院长不是院长，我们的这个终身教授是王庆杰老师是吧？这个翻译的海德格尔的，他是关于死亡的。海德格尔的那个所有的哲学其实跟死，就前期哲学跟死是有关系的。但是实际上，这是换一个思路去看，你完全可以把死亡当成并不是一个期限的那个东西，它让你是在这个活的过程中找到了那个死人。I'm so sorry, I can't understand in English because it's hard to translate.
是那如果选择都是相当于是 fate 的一环，
就是 fate。哎，我这个故事，我觉得就是要跟柏拉图的故事去讲。柏拉图的这个《理想国》第10卷，他讲的最后每一个人去选自己的命运，然后选好了之后呢，就去投胎了。下一辈子你就是按你自己选的命运去做。其实我们每一秒每一刻都在做选择自己的。Every second we choose our fate. It's not when we die we choose a fate to be honest or to be a famous man. No, every second, every minute you choose your fate.
是刻，但是把这个地方放在，是在保护在里才说那个只是一个环，所有的时刻都是死前的那个一个瞬间。所以那个生命循环是不是
对，就是每一刻它都像切片一样，其实是都可以贯通。对，
是
那个是这个是跟你问的那个问题 free will 是直接相关的，因为 free 就在这里。Okay.
Yeah, from a literary perspective, it would seem that the narrative would actually be quite boring if everyone was determined by fate.
Yeah.
So for the narrative to be interesting, you've got to have some characters that have this element of unpredictable future. Does that fit with your assessment? Is this?
有道理。
又没听懂。
That's why the appearance of hero.
没有这个复杂性，那这个故事就会很无聊。
是这样的，是吧？
所以英雄的出现就是让那个故事更
对，英雄是一个气质，对的。英雄是对。
Like if like from a literary perspective, Victoria says, right? 就是文学或者讲故事这个方面。 Right, like if we didn't have this complexity, then the story would be very boring. Right?
Should,
everything
yes,
would be like, oh, good, I can decide to bing, press
Yeah,
buttons,
I
right?
think-
Yeah, so
Yeah,
justice is brought in, and then things are complicated, right? And even Zeus has limits,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely.
Yes, yes.
That's why that's the not is the single form fate. It's not the fates, diverse fates,
Yes.
because fate is beyond everyone, beyond the gods, beyond the humans. That's the fate.
So this makes it even more interesting because it may be that these concepts like justice that became so philosophically important actually became important because there were narrative devices to make the plot interesting.
Yes. Exactly. And if you think about the plot, right, the one who opposes him is, of course, his wife. Of course, she has many reasons,
Yes.
but also his daughter, right? Who that becomes the symbol of justice, right? She
Yes,
is the arbiter in also other stories, right? So
Yes.
the one who came out of his
And
From here,
swallowed,
from
he
it's not
swallowed
from the
babies,
yes.
right? And he gave birth to her out of his head. So
Yeah,
the excess of his intelligence turned against him.
yeah, yeah.
somehow.
But actually, he's goddess. He's not the prophesy is that the Metis will born a son.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those serve him after he born is the goddess.
daughter,
It's not a son. It's the daughter.
Do you have time for a question or two? If indeed there are.
It is our fate to finish at 7. There's
Okay.
a limit there, but how do we do it, right?
Uh-huh.
I have got one more.
Yeah, by all means, please.
Yeah. So it seems to me that not knowing one's fate is a great advantage in life. Yeah, I mean, it's what makes our lives possible in a way. So the ordinary mortals are the ones in the best position, I think, in this framework. Yeah. I mean, maybe really narratively boring, but from the perspective of a life being lived, it's much better not to know your fate. I think.
It's much better somehow, right? Like also we can connect this to, I don't know, ideas in Confucianism, right? That the fact that you cannot predict, that your fate is not predictable or controllable, somehow becomes the possibility for you to try to be right.
To go in your station.
Yeah, to try to be a better person, basically, right? Like these turns of fate, right? These difficulties that you face, which you cannot predict, are the condition for you to become better.
Yes.
If everything was like get out, right? Like why would we try for anything?
I'm not sure. 我也不太确定 how to answer this.
No, if you think if it makes sense.
Yeah.
就是如果没有可预知性，那就没有就是机会改善自己。
Yeah，所以我才说，每个人其实必须有这个预知性才会有意义，但是这个预知性不一定意味着跟死亡是有关系的，也许是其他的东西。所以我不知道我该怎么去说这个。
Well, there are no other questions. It's not so problematic to adjourn a little before our fated moment.
Take your fate in your hand,
So
Ben.
we can continue our discussion more informally in the Port Club. And before we do that, though, I think we ought to thank our speaker for their time.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Gary has gone to arrange the food order, make sure they don't leave us stranded without it.
我也觉得，
没有，还是有好多人是还是有一点紧张。我得，哎，这英语太好了，我听。